Welcome to the first module of the training series called Capability Builders for Site-Based Social Performance Management Systems. This module is about building a social performance knowledge base as part of a Social Performance Management System, or SPMS. The overall logic for SPMS is described in the concept paper accompanying this module entitled Social Performance Management Systems in Mining: Key Concepts. The material in this module has been prepared by Dr. Joanne Everingham. Joanne is a sociologist whose research interest focuses on mining communities in rural and regional Australia. A comprehensive knowledge base is a foundation of social performance management systems. The social baseline information and data that provide the foundation of these systems are most relevant to the plan phase of the PDCA cycle. They ensure site-based staff develop an evidence-based understanding of the context of an operation, and that operational plans and decisions are based on detailed and comprehensive information. It is also central to the check phase, discussed later. Mining companies often have standards requiring a knowledge base to be updated every 5 years through social baseline studies. Why is a social performance knowledge base important for mining operations? Mining is an industrially complex activity that often takes place in socially complex contexts. Site-based staff need to make decisions that affect and are affected by local communities, various levels of government, challenging biophysical environments, changing economic and political environments, disputed land rights, artisanal small-scale mining, involuntary resettlement, and issues of royalties and compensation. Good social performance decisions require comprehensive and detailed knowledge. Without this knowledge, we can become like the blind people in the parable about the elephant, each person inaccurately describing the elephant based only on the part they can touch. A comprehensive knowledge base supports better social performance decisions. This module will explain what social data is, how it creates a social baseline, how it is used in social performance management systems, and common issues in mining contexts. By the end of this module, you will not be like the blind people and the elephant. Instead, you will be able to describe a social performance knowledge base, explain how to decide what data to gather and how to collect and store it, and describe how evidence-based understanding contributes to SPMS. What is social data? Social data is more than surface issues like complaints and grievances, results of perception surveys, or impressions and anecdotes of social performance staff, which are often only the tip of the iceberg. Diverse forms of data are needed to make sense of how mining communities and environments operate and to appreciate the underlying causes of deep-rooted issues and complex patterns of interaction. Take a moment to think about the social data at your work site and consider this checklist. How is your site's knowledge base currently constructed? How thorough is it? Pause this video if you need. Different types of social data provide different insights. Quantitative data includes surveys, statistics, and results from chemical samples. This type of data is objective, representative, often numerical, and ideally disaggregated. Qualitative data include interview transcripts, diaries, videos and audio recordings, and written responses to surveys that aren't numerical. This type of data is interpretative. It tells us about the nature and quality of social structures and processes and how they are constructed, maintained, legitimized, and resisted. Together, quantitative and qualitative data inform each other to provide a more rigorous, composite picture of the social environment in which the mine is situated. Take a moment to identify whether quantitative or qualitative data would be required to address these questions. Pause the video if you need. The answers will appear in a few seconds. To build a comprehensive and detailed knowledge base, you will need to use sophisticated and diverse data collection strategies. This requires various technical skills, specialized instruments, and professional techniques. It also involves different degrees of interaction with and participation of non-company people, as key informants, research assistants, or co-investigators. Methods will also involve different resources and lengths of time. Here are 5 examples of methods of collecting social data. What others have you used and found effective? Where does social data come from? It can often be a challenge to find reliable and comprehensive sources of data. Many places around the world do not have up-to-date or fine-grained records. Local people are often your most knowledgeable resource. You should always check your sources to ensure they are authoritative and reliable. Poor quality data can lead to poor social performance decision making. Take a moment to review this list of data sources. Are they primary or secondary sources? Also, reflect on what your sources of reliable local information are. How do you check that your sources are reliable? Pause the video if you need. The answers will display in a few seconds. Once we've acquired social data, we can build a social baseline. A social baseline gives a rich understanding of a community, including its values and perceptions. This helps us understand how affected communities function and what contributes to their well-being. We can think of social baselines as layers of social data which are not discrete. For example, physical data will include information about water, quantity and quality, sources. The social layer will need data about water too, who uses it, when and how they use it, and where they access it. Some of that data may actually be contained in land and water rights or in use rights shown in cadastral data. The physical layer is data on the natural and physical environment, including topography, hydrology, geology, and climate. This data helps you understand the natural resource base that is available to the project and also to the people in the area of interest. For example, a community might practice rain-fed agriculture driven by dry and wet seasons. Your operations demands for water may affect supplies critical to local farmers. Seasonal agricultural activities may affect available labor for operations, and vice versa. The social layer is itself multi-layered. The data in this layer should reflect the diversity of the community. It should not merely portray communities in homogeneous terms. Recording an average across the community is insufficient. Those at the extremes, significantly higher or lower than average, may require the most social performance attention. A rich social layer will help identify who to engage with and how. The demographic layer records quantitative information about a population. It's important to disaggregate this data and show differences among community members so we know which people make up the patterns we record. If the jurisdiction you're operating in conducts a census, this often provides such information, but it may not be at a localized level and it may not be recent. The cadastral layer builds understanding of both the legal provisions and local norms around land ownership, usage rights, and boundaries. In many countries, land rights are a complex web of historical, traditional, and cultural practices. National governments may themselves be working to untangle these, and in many countries, legislative reform is ongoing. Data in the cadastral layer can assist in activities such as estimating compensation and royalties and managing involuntary resettlement. Your data is only as good as your documentation. Record it as rigorously and methodically as you would for other company functions like geology, OH&S, or finances. Use software and systems to keep the data organized. Document your stakeholders and how you engage with them. Establish a system to receive and record complaints and concerns. Treat these systematically, documenting follow-up. This prevents repeating mistakes or letting them escalate into major issues. Other benefits of having methodical data are listed here. One final note. Does your knowledge base create an institutional memory within your operations? Will it survive a change in staff, or does it reside mostly with people? Take a moment to reflect on this question and its consequences. How does social data fit within the broader Social Performance Management System, or SPMS? Social baselines provide the foundation of a social performance management system and are relevant to every phase of the plan, do, check, act cycle. Social data helps site-based staff develop an evidence-based understanding of their operational context. Operational plans and decisions can be based on detailed and comprehensive information informing the do phase. Social data also plays a critical role in the check phase, allowing the company to monitor its impact on communities, both positive and negative. The company can adjust its actions accordingly in the act phase. Social data captured in baselines is critical throughout the mine life cycle. It's important to make sure that social data is kept up to date and is appropriate for the stage of mine life. For example, at exploration, you'll need to establish property rights and land tenure arrangements to negotiate your access, considerations that are less likely to be at the forefront after production begins. A company's information needs will change over time, but it's always difficult to backfill a gap in data. In a hypothetical example, suppose the local population near a mine site has doubled in the last 5 years. This strains local service providers and has led to land ownership disputes. How might poor social data affect this situation? Some data is difficult to gather after the fact. If accurate demographic statistics were not gathered 5 years ago, it would be very difficult to estimate the population at that time. The rate of in-migration would be difficult to determine. Good social performance foresees, as much as possible, the operations data needs. Finally, let's highlight some common issues with social data at mining sites. Too often, the knowledge base on which social performance professionals rely is limited or inadequate. This has consequences for interpretation of situations, operational decisions, relationships, and communication. Here are 5 common problems worth looking out for. 1. Some sites only see quantitative data as valid. People and communities are reduced to averages and percentages. This approach misses out on the questions that qualitative data is designed to address. Questions of why and who and how. For example, a history of conflict between a group of people and the previous mine owners cannot be reduced to numbers, yet knowing this history is critical for present-day conflict management. 2. Some sites rely too much on perceptions data, which identifies what people in the community think of the company. While perception surveys have their place, their results tend to be commentary or personal assessments at the time of the survey. Perception surveys do not generally dig more deeply into the reasons why a set of perceptions exist. 3. Too often, social data is haphazard, incomplete, poorly stored, lost, or otherwise unavailable. We've already discussed the importance of methodically capturing social data. 4. The best data is unhelpful if it isn't actually used to make operational decisions. This problem is about whether a company is structured to involve social data in its decisions and whether there is leadership and culture to do so. 5. Almost all mine sites exist within a complex web of political, cultural, historical, and social context. Building a knowledge base that unravels this web is often labor-intensive and expensive and needs continual updating. It requires investment from the business to maintain. The following 2 cartoons provide a wry take on a couple of these problems. In summary, this module should have equipped you to record and use quality social data to avoid the weaknesses commonly experienced at mines. You can now see the elephant as it truly is.